Obviously, this is another one of the mildly unscheduled live streams, but I mean, how do you schedule an assassination? That has to be a hard thing to schedule. For those of you who are watching this later, we're just waiting for some people to show up because I'm doing this a little spur of the moment because I live my life a little spur of the moment. So, slow news day, huh? Not much going on in the world. Nice, lazy Saturday afternoon. What could we possibly have to talk about this evening? I almost, for some reason, I failed to put a title on this when I was going live. My title was going to be Saved by a Glance on a Slow News Day. Good evening, Rusty. Hey, budget prepper. I have a few random observations about things going on in the world. I'm not sure what topics we might touch on this evening. Let me get the chat up. Our country was saved by a glance this afternoon. I don't know, I'm sure most of you have watched the video by now when the shooter took his shot. President Trump was looking to his right. His head was turned and he was facing that side when the shots went off. And this ear was hit. Had he been facing forward, that bullet would have taken him in the brain pan. He'd be dead right now. Had he been delivering his speech to the front, like, you know, the majority of his speech would have been delivered to the front, we would have a dead president right now. Hold on one second while I get this chat up, man. I'm sorry. And we would be living in a very, very, very different world. Okay, chat's up. You know, oh, by the way, I predict the next thing the left hits him with, the next accusation made against Trump is that he's the Antichrist because he got shot in the head. Those of you who know your end times prophecy know what I'm talking about, where the Antichrist looks like he was shot in the head. That'll be what they throw at him next, and they'll start accusing anyway. But we were this close, people. He was looking this way, talking to someone off camera, when that shot. I can't tell watching the video. There's a dark spot on his ear about right here, to where it looks like it might have actually gone through his ear, but there's also a clipped part here on the whatever this part is. And I can't tell, you know, obviously it's just a blown up still, and I'm not a forensic anything, so I can't tell if the bullet actually went through his ear, like right here, or clipped right here. But had he been looking straight ahead, he would be a dead ex-president. I don't know, what was that band back in then? It was a Dead Presidents, or he'd be a member of that band. And what would we be dealing with? So anyone who gets updates, please please give them to us while we're talking. Oh gosh, I always forget to turn off the alerts. But those of us who are of a religious mindset, let's take a moment and just be grateful. Trump is not a religious figure. You know, you don't want to make too much of him, but he's a good president, and he's a good man, and he's done good things. He's not a great man. He probably was a great president. he was a great president, but he's probably not a great man. I mean, whether or not he slept with Stormy Daniels, he's done things like that, and I don't think he denies it. I mean, the man had a regular appearance uh, on the Howard Stern show for years, for crying out loud. I mean, he's never claimed to be a Sunday school teacher, but he's a good man, and he's a family man despite his picadillos, and we need to be grateful. Good evening, Engineer to Succeed, and just take a moment and thank God that this decent, courageous, good leader is alive. Trump should come out like Holyfield with his ear bandaged for the next debate. I tell you, people, that picture of him shaking his fist with the flag flying in the background, I'm sure you've seen it by now. But if you have not seen that picture, go look at that picture. It's gonna be on everything. You don't even have to go look for it. It will be on everything for the rest of our lives. This is gonna go alongside the Marines raising the flag on Iwo Jima as iconic image. As soon as I saw that, shalom, tradesman. As soon as I saw the Shaner says Secret Service dropped the ball and did not secure the building. There's only a couple of buildings, and that shot should have never happened. Actually, Shaner, I agree with you. I normally, I adhere to that old adage: never ascribe to malice what could be ascribed to stupidity. But how was there a rooftop with a shot at the president that didn't have an armed guard on it? Unless we find out there was an armed guard and the shooter killed the guard first, heads need to roll with the Secret Service. Also, I'm hearing reports that Trump's security detail has been asking for additional resources for weeks, and Biden's DHS has been denying him extra protection. Hey, Tim. So yes, heads need to roll at DHS. Heads need to roll at the Secret Service. Now, and by the way, let's give the Secret Service their due. You saw all those men, and there was one woman, if you look at the picture, ran to the president and surrounded him with their bodies. That takes guts. We're going to give them that. Yeah, I think it was Elon's tweet where I saw that, Engineer to Succeed. So we probably saw the same tweet. It takes guts to shield, there's the old Bible adage, a few men might give up their lives for a friend, but who would ever give up their life? Or you know what I'm talking about. These Secret Service agents, they clumped up on the president. They shielded him with their bodies. And then again, engineers to see the counter assault. They capped that guy pretty quick. I would be interested to find out how many. I think they counted 9 shots. I'd be interested to hear how many of those shots were the counter assault team, because as soon as I turned the audio on, I could tell these were rifle shots. There was no way around it. Clearly rifle shots. But I wonder how many shots the shooter got off before, the tactical team on the ground got him. So let's give those agents on the ground their due. They did their job. They did it pretty quick. Yeah, and the shooter can't talk now. I've seen one picture of someone claiming to have identified the shooter, and there's some. If you look at the video of the shooter on the roof, because there's a video clip of the shooter lying dead on the roof. It doesn't look like the picture of this guy. To me, the picture of the guy they're saying it was is much fatter. The picture of the guy on the roof is real fit, but his beard looks very similar, and he's got a similar coloring. But the guy who they were trying to say it was is just fat as hell, and the guy on the roof was thin. He was fit, and now. Someone's saying it's a Chinese guy. I don't know. I don't have any inside information on that. But We know now the guy in the picture lying dead on the roof was in camo. He was in some kind of urban camo that matched the rooftop very, very well. If you look at 125 yards, yeah, you see, how was a rooftop 125 yards away not secured? Anyone can make a 125-yard shot. That's a nothing shot, especially with a modern rifle, especially with modern optics. I mean, 120. I don't have a rifle that can't kill a man at 125 yards, and I've got a 22 long rifle up there. It is unconscionable. Tradesman, it was a good shot. If Trump's head had not been turned, he would be dead right now. Watch the video. He's looking this way, and the bullet comes past his head and clips his ear. Had he been looking straight ahead, that bullet would have gone right through the back of his head, and we would have a dead ex-president on our hands. Hey, Cattywampus is here. Okay. Cattywampus says that it was 125 to 200 yards past the safe zone. So that would be different. I don't know what the safe zone would be. Again, so the picture of the Secret Service agent I saw who was identified as having killed the shooter, he just had, it looked like a 16, maybe even a 14 and a half inch inch AR. I mean, it wasn't. I didn't even see a bipod. Maybe he might have had a monopod or something. But it wasn't a huge setup. If he made that shot that quick, that's pretty good shooting. Okay, Cattywampus is saying, and he's given the caveat that he's not positive. This is what he heard. Said that the safe zone is like 800 yards. So if this shot was taken from 125 yards to 200 yards past the 800-yard safe zone, now we're talking about a good shot, a really good shooter. I'm a decent shot, Marine qualified expert. I've never even attempted a shot from 800 yards, let alone from 1,000 yards. That's a hell of a shot if that's what. Of course, we all know now. Caveat: total speculation at this point. We don't have any information. But this community, you men who watch these, watch, who interact with us, y'all know guns, and you know kind of what they're capable of, and what the average shooter is capable of. If someone was making a headshot from 800 yards away, 900 yards away, 1,000 yards away, that is not an average shooter by any stretch of the. It's not even a good shooter. That is an extremely good shooter. That is an extremely good shooter. What I was going to say is the guy was wearing a Grunt Life T-shirt. I'm getting messages from some of you that I can't watch right. I can't look at right now because I'm streaming. So some of you guys are sending me information and I can't access it. I'm sorry. If you put it in the chat though, we'll read it out. He was wearing a Grunt Life T-shirt of all things, which. Thank you, Practitioner Bones. Appreciate you. Okay, Boo Radley says sound of report doesn't back that up. Right, Boo, but we're not 100% sure that the sounds we were hearing, because I was hearing the sproing. When I first heard the shots, I went, oh, AR-15. And we're not sure if what we're hearing wasn't the Secret Service shooting back. In fact, I would speculate that the shots you could hear on the video were the Secret Service counterfire against the shooter. I mean, again, obviously everything is speculation at this point, but absolutely no. Hey, Prague, a 1,000-yard shot. There's no way a 1,000-yard shot is easy, no matter what. There's no such thing as an easy 1,000-yard shot, and that goes for like a machine. If you bolted a gun into a machine and aimed it digitally, a 1,000-yard shot is still a difficult shot because the wind could be doing different stuff. You might have a little variation in that bullet. A lot of things can affect, because every little variation in that bullet, the farther the bullet goes, is traveling off at an angle. And so at 1,000 yards, you just have a deviation of oh yeah, that's true. 10 tigers, no spotter. You just have a deviation of a heartbeat. Literally, a heartbeat at the rifle can move the impact of the bullet a foot or more. I mean, it could move it a lot at 1,000 yards. I don't even know what the possible. But we talk about really, really good shooters can shoot what's called 1 MOA, 1 minute of angle, which is just kind of a rule of thumb that means that you can generally, a good shooter with a good rifle can put bullets within an inch of each other at 100 yards, and every 100 yards the bullet travels, you expect the group size to widen by another inch. So at 1,000 yards, a good shooter with a good rifle would expect their bullets to move 10 inches or more in either direction, which is 20 inches. If you've got a 1 MOA rifle, which is a good rifle, 1 MOA rifle is an excellent rifle. The standard for military service grade rifles, I think, is 5.5 MOA. So if this guy was just shooting a rack grade AR-15 at 1,000 yards, his bullet's going to be off. His spread is going to be 50 inches, 6 feet. He's going to have 6 foot of spread with a rack grade rifle at 1,000 yards. With the best rifle and the best ammunition, not the best, but some of the best rifles and some of the best ammunitions, he's still going to have a spread of 20 inches. 10. He's going to have 10 MOA, but that could be 10 inches on either side of his point of aim, up and down too. He's going to have a 20-inch circle that bullet could reasonably expect to hit it. So a 1,000-yard shot is always going to be an impressive shot. Let me catch up with these. The crack then pop means the shots were fired in the direction of the microphone. Okay, that's interesting. An 800-yard shot, that's off my a few inches and a trained sniper, or a really proficient hobbyist. I have taken a lot of long-range shots, and to be honest, it looked like his first or second shot was on target. If this was 1,000 yards, this guy had some skill. Yeah, I agree, engineered to succeed. Oh, yeah, and yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, drop, too. The other thing is bullets drop. As soon as a bullet comes out of the muzzle of a rifle, it starts falling. That's why we talk about trajectory. And you actually, whenever you're shooting, you're actually, your bullet is your barrel is aimed up, and you're actually angling the bullet in. That's why your zero is so important. And over 1,000 yards, most scopes don't even have enough adjustments for 1,000 yards. Lewis asked, how would you rate the response from Secret Service compared to other similar events? I mean, the only other similar event that's happened in my lifetime was Ronald Reagan getting shot. And I think that this was a much better response than what I remember of Ronald Reagan getting shot. Because what I remember of Reagan's assassination attempt was there were 4 Secret Service guys there, and like two guys whipped out Uzis, and 2 guys threw them in the car, and they zoomed off. And of course, in this case, it looked like we had a half dozen agents who all clumped up on him right away and shielded him with their bodies while he tried to get around. I love that, man. Like all these Secret Service agents are like trying to, and he's trying to get out from underneath them and shake his fist. This is a hell of it. This is a 78-year-old man. And then, of course, the TAC team comes out, and we didn't see what was happening off camera. Okay, Jacques says probably not 1,000 yards. A guy in the crowd says he and his friends saw the shooter climbing up on the roof and tried for 3 to 4 minutes to tell the Secret Service. Yeah, I saw that report too, Jacques, and that's very concerning. And like I said, it sounds like some heads are going to have to roll at the Secret Service. John Doe is telling us it was 600 yards from the shooter to Trump. So still an excellent, excellent shot. A headshot at 600 yards on a, it's not like he was standing still. Remember, this is not a paper target. This wasn't a circle standing still at 600 yards. This is a moving target. He's not running, obviously, but he's moving back and forth and yada, yada. If it is true that it was a 600-yard shot, this is a skilled shooter. This is a skilled shooter. Again, I'm a decent shot. I qualified expert in the Corps. I'm not sure. I want to give myself some airs here. I don't think I could reliably make that shot at 600 yards every time. I mean, I could be close. It wouldn't be impossible that I could make that shot, but I don't know that I don't think I could reliably make a 600-yard headshot on a moving target like that. That's good shooting. So we're going to have to find out some more about this shooter, hopefully at some point. The libs are being... Did y'all see what the newspapers were reporting? Did you see their headlines? Trump falls down? Trump didn't fall down. He got shot. He touches his ear. He looks at the blood, and he ducked. He had the presence of mind to take a bullet to the head, the ear, but still. And he ducked. He didn't fall. He ducked. And then he stood back up. He didn't cower on the ground. He didn't lay there on the ground and let those Secret Service agents just lay on top of him. He stood back up and started shaking his fist. And there was a second shooter from the grassy knoll. Now, say what you want about Trump. You guys know I really like the guy. That's amazing. That's some fucking gangster level shit there. That is some absolutely gangster level shit right there. And then they tried to carry him off, and he refused to be carried off. The hit son of a bitch walked off the damn platform. That son of a bitch walked off the damn platform, wouldn't let the Secret Service carry him. He's got to, I mean, think about it. What does he know? He doesn't know what happened. He has an idea. But in that moment, you got adrenaline pumping. You could be in shock. You don't know how bad you're hit. You don't know what else is waiting. And he's like, screw you, leave me alone. I'm walking off the stage under my own power. Joe Biden couldn't walk from the podium to the moderator's desk at his debate under his own power. Jill had to propel him and help him down a single step. Trump's got a bullet in his ear, and he's walking off the stage. All right, politics aside, man, who gets the nuclear codes? Who gets the nuclear codes at this point? You cannot look. Someone should do this video, by the way. He got his shoe first, then did the fist pump. I didn't realize that. Someone should make this video. They should put side by side Joe Biden walking off the debate stage with Jill carrying his ass next to Donald Trump walking off that Landon Shalom, walking off that stage with a bullet in his head. Obviously, I'm using hyperbole here. If you want staged, measured, non-emotional commentary, you're going to have to go somewhere else, because that is not me. Someone should do that video. If I had the skills and the know-how, I would do it. Any Thug Life memes yet? Oh yeah, the Thug Life memes are going to be the memes that come out of this thing are going to be fantastic. But the one I want to see is a side-by-side video of Jill helping Biden across the debate stage, and Trump carrying the Secret Service with him as he. Yeah, the T-shirts are coming. The fist pump was amazing with the flag in the background. Now it is not. It is too soon to start cheering and celebrating. By the way, this is a. Hey Patrick. This is a serious, somber moment. Yet another norm, and this is not the first time a president's been shot at. It's not the first time in my lifetime a president's been shot at. However, what's different this time, the shooter was actually Abbott's older brother. What's different this time, Reagan was shot by a crazy man, an absolute psychopath. Bobby Kennedy was shot by a Palestinian terrorist. I don't know why they shot Martin Luther King. I don't believe any of that story. Kennedy was shot by a rabid communist. This guy is going to end up having been shot by a political operative. The guy who shot Kennedy. Why is my mind going blank? Oswald. Oh, someone help me out. He was crazy too. I mean, he was a communist, but he was nutso. He was crazy. Do you think he will go with J.D. Vance for VP? He's an ex-Marine. I like Vance. Okay, so someone is saying that Violets is the shooter. So Mark Violets was the name I saw that was sent to me earlier by Practitioner Bones. The picture that accompanied that was a very, very fat man, and the body on the rooftop is not fat. The body on the rooftop is Lee Harvey Oswald. Lee Harvey Oswald shot Kennedy. But it could be an old picture. The guy could have gotten in shape for this. I mean, who knows? You can lose weight. Parts of the face that you could see of the shooter lying dead on the roof did look similar to the pictures of Mark Violet. The picture of Mark Violet that I was sent. The beard looked very, very, very. It was the same. It was an identical style beard. And then the coloration and the haircut looked very similar. But all you could sort of see was, you could kind of see the shooter from maybe here back. And he was lying prone, and he was very dead. The funniest meme I've seen so far is someone put up on Twitter that the shooter's pronouns were, which I thought was hysterical. Tradesman, I don't remember if Oswald was a CIA spook or not. Or are you talking about would a 1,000-yard shot have done more damage due to the caliber and power needed for accuracy? Yeah, that's the other thing with a 1,000-yard shot, Jacques, is that it could not have been a AR-15 at 1,000 yards. Okay, John Doe now is saying that it was a 200-yard shot. A 200-yard shot you could do with an AR all day long. A 1,000-yard shot you have to have at bare minimum. Now Oswald did travel to Russia because he was a communist and he was trying to defect, and he was crazy and the Russians didn't want him and they sent him back. So a 1,000-yard shot would require at bare minimum a 308. A 7.62 by 50. Was it 51? 50, yeah, 7.62 by 51. And that's bare minimum. And that's not really enough. If a professional was going to do 1,000-yard shots, they'd prefer something like 300 Win Mag or 338 Lapua or 50 BMG or one of those really big, either those really fast, high ballistic coefficient bullets or a big, heavy, So a 1,000-yard shot is unlikely. Yeah, Tradesman is saying follow-up shots were probably shots on the shooter. That's my guess too. I'm assuming I'm assuming the shots we heard on the video were shots on the shooter. Okay, now Patrick E is telling us that okay, Engineered to Succeed says the New York Post has a map and says it was 130 yards. So a very doable shot. Patrick E says there's 430 feet. Seems to be a 223. All the shot sounds are doubled up. Okay, so 430 feet is close to 130 yards. It's almost exactly 130 yards. So we got two different sources that have it about 130 yards, which makes this criminal negligence on the part of the Secret Service. That a shooter was able to get on a rooftop 430 feet away from the president, however you want, I call him president, with a rifle, an unsecured rooftop with a clear line of sight to the president. This is, I mean, if that was negligence, it's criminal negligence. Criminal negligence. You can't tell me that the best personal protection agency supposedly in existence left an unsecured rooftop 130 yards away with a clear line of sight. That is not credible. And if it was a mistake, if it was an oversight, then it was criminal negligence. Someone's got to get fired. Someone should probably go to jail. For any of you lefties watching, that would be an actual crime. You do not have a body on every elevated. Oh, how do you not have a body on every elevated position within a mile of the podium? At least a camera, right? I mean, why don't you have a camera? On the other channel, it was said 400 yards. Okay, 98XJ has had a lot of information this evening, so he's definitely following it. 98XJ at 400 yards and 430 feet could get confused by some of these dumbass liberals. Someone got paid to look the other way. Luke B's been shot at. The rounds were hypersonic. Luke B says they seemed like 30 caliber rounds to me. Not 22 caliber. So that's an interesting observation. If this is a lefty, and maybe he does have an unnatural predilection for Soviet weaponry, and maybe he used an AK or something, or maybe he used a real sniper rifle and had a 308 up there. He had a Grunt Life T-shirt on, which is really bothering me. It bothers me. That's our T-shirt. Not that I don't even have any Grunt Life T-shirts, but why was this guy wearing a pro Second Amendment T-shirt? And Mosin Nagant, maybe. Well, if he'd be the real deal commie if he was using a Mosin Nagant. Well, here's the thing. Kinetic says some cheap hunting rifle, the Savage from Walmart. A Savage hunting rifle from Walmart with the inexpensive scopes, those are better than World War II sniper rifles. I mean, we live in a golden era of firearms. It's impossible to buy a bad firearm almost anymore. Any cheap rifle with a modern commercial scope is going to be the high-end sniper rifle of the past. So if it's some Walmart Savage 308 or 243 or whatever, that's an effective weapon. Jeff Cooper, if I'm showing my age, some of you young guys may not remember Jeff Cooper. Jeff Cooper's the man who who came up with the scout sniper rifle concept, and his whole thing was that a bolt action rifle in a medium size caliber with a certain type of scope. I can't remember what those scopes are called right now. Patrick E is saying this guy was in. Oh, you're talking about the guy who saw him. A man was interviewed on the BBC. He said he could see the guy climbing on the roof. He was calling him out to the police. He could see him climb on the roof. It's not that far. 430 feet makes sense. Yeah, if that guy who said he saw him climbing on the roof is telling the truth. Now, you watch that guy. I watched a little bit of the video of that guy talking. And, I mean, this is just a goofball guy, with a weird haircut. If that guy could see him climbing on the roof with a rifle and the Secret Service could not see him climbing on the roof, I'm sorry. You're going to have a really, really, really hard time convincing me that this wasn't on purpose. Okay, my 308 Savage is very accurate for hunting. Nothing bad to say about it. Yeah, they're good rifles. Very, very accurate for being so affordable. There's a dude that shot a law enforcement officer who was in a helicopter shooting at him with a Ruger number 3 single shot in 30-06. It's all about how much you practice. I had a number 1 in 30-06 that I absolutely loved. Anita says beer 30-inch. I'm not sure. Need another gun. I didn't fall for it this time. I'm not sure what that is. Beer 30-inch. Don't forget the Coriolis effect when shooting distance. Papa T-Cat. I'm not familiar with the Coriolis effect. I'm showing my ignorance. I'm sorry. Yeah, again, Mark, it doesn't make sense that he was climbing during the event. What the hell? He wasn't in place beforehand? I don't know. This is crazy. Oh, yeah, the guy who saw him climbing said he also saw the shot that took him out. Shooting over long enough distance, you have to account for the earth spinning underneath you and the target. Oh, yeah. I have heard of that. Yeah. Okay. Relation to shooter and target. Oh, Palmetto's here. It's all the dog and pony show. Yeah, but, you're going to go with the dog or you can go with the pony. Whether you like it or not, the show is happening. The guy was trying to stop the squirrels from getting the corn from a bird feeder. These folks just got in the way. That damn Donald Trump just walked right in front of this guy defending his bird feeder from the squirrels. You crazy president, get out of my yard. iOS. I got to admit that was a unique take. That is not one that had occurred to me. We could all be overreacting. Thank you, Jesse. I appreciate it. We're extolling the virtues of 270, which I agree is a very nice round. Oh, you know what? And you're right. Louis, thank you. We did not even stop to acknowledge the fact that one of the spectators was killed and another one was severely wounded. And that is an unconscionable oversight on my part. We should have mentioned that. There are innocent Americans who are dead and the other, I heard seriously wounded and critically wounded on the other one. So that means they might not be out of the woods yet. And they were just there exercising their rights as Americans, engaging in the political process. So it was a man who got hit in the head. I hadn't heard any details about the An ER surgeon was on scene and tried to save him. You know what else struck me about this? Is that there was no panic. That crowd didn't stampede. They didn't make it worse by, look at, they weren't trying to crawl over each other. I've always thought about the Las Vegas shooting, if y'all remember that, where some 50 plus odd people were killed. They've never released any details about that shooting, and I've always thought that it was because the vast majority of the people died in the stampede. That very few people were actually killed by the shooter, mostly because he was 400 plus yards away, and he wasn't a trained shooter, and he was shooting with a bump stock. So I've always been highly skeptical that he was making well-aimed shots. And I've always thought the reason why they never told us more about that shooting is because of that fact, that it was the stampede that produced most of the casualties, which I actually support, because we don't want crazies starting to figure out that their guns are actually the least effective, not the least effective, but a far less effective weapon for mass casualties than fear and like I said, stampedes and stuff. But when you watch that Trump crowd, there was none of that. There was no stampede. There was no panic. People dropped. They took cover. They got down, and then they got up and they cheered for the president. Yeah, like a rental truck, Wes. Yes, 100%. Rental trucks are far more effective at killing large people in crowds than guns would ever be. I was very, very, very proud of Jason. Glad to hear that, brother. There's a whole lot of reasons why I think people should vote, even people who are skeptical of voting. Palmetto Paratrooper and I go round and round about this. Hal Turner is showing a graphic close-up photo of the shooter. Oh wow, Luke was close to the Oklahoma City bombing. I don't know what Patrick is forgiving Luke for, but anyway, yeah, we need to remember both those things, that a decent, probably an average everyday even Joe Biden will vote for Trump now. Biden has no idea who he's voting for. Is dead, another one is severely wounded, and then all those average everyday Americans kept their heads. They didn't panic, they didn't stampede, they didn't make the situation worse. They took cover, and as soon as it was over, they stood back up and they cheered for the president. There was a lot about this moment to feel good about our move, about conservatives in general, right-wingers. I don't like the word conservative anymore. I'm actually gonna. I have a video coming up soon about how I'm not going to call myself a conservative anymore, because it's not descriptive. Conservatives conserve things. Conservatives are the ones who are trying to maintain the current power structures and the current way things are. That's why you're conservative. You're conserving, what is. And I don't want to try to conserve what is. The power structures that are, the culture that exists, all needs to be overthrown. It needs to, I want to go back to an older way of life and many people would think that would be conservative, but it's not. That way of life is gone. I'm not trying to conserve it. I'm trying to bring it back. I'm a radical reactionary, and conservatives are liberals now because they're trying to conserve their power and the institutions that they've stolen. Yeah, Kinetic. I think I'm going with radical reactionary or reactionary. You're a reactionary and a revolutionary. I don't know, but yeah, I'm a flavor of Christian nationalist now. Overfledig Yviglis says, but do I what? Louis asking traditionalist. Uh, Kinetic wants to live like the Puritans of 300 years ago. Mike Farmer says bingo. Kinetic likes theocracy. Luke B says the French got a bad rap when it comes to World War II. People forgot they lost an entire generation of men in World War One. Excellent point, Luke. In fact, I listened to a lot of left-wing podcasts, and they were actually talking about how, of course, they're saying this was eugenics and racist and bad, but back after World War One, a lot of the criticism of World War One was that Europe has been undermined because we killed our, you know, 2 generations of all our best men, and yet they're talking about they were going to be genetically inferior for generations because of it, and of course the liberals I was listening to took that and turned it into a racist rant. But there's something to what they say. You know, you can't take all your strongest, healthiest men and kill them, and think that's not going to have an effect on your culture. Human nature political movement only goes forward. John Last says human nature political movement only goes forward. Okay, my poli-sci prof said you can never go backward. Human nature political movement only goes forward. Of course, this is a Darwinian theory. This is evolutionary, maybe evolutionary psychology, but this is an idea rooted in evolution that the world and people and nature is in a constant state of flux, in a constant state of change, in a constant state of progress, and I see no evidence of that whatsoever. I do not believe in the march of history. People haven't changed since we've started keeping records of people. There has been no progress of culture and society, and the only thing that's changed is that things happen faster. What we're doing right now, people could do in the Stone Age with a hollow log and some sticks. It would have taken them a lot longer, but you could have done it. You could have transmitted information with smoke signals. The internet, YouTube, what we're doing right now, it's nothing new. It's just faster. And there has been no progress. There has been no evolution. There has been no. I'm going to say the same thing over and over again. That's a false view of history, in my opinion. Neither here nor there. So I don't want to beat this this horse to death. I don't want to just be taking advantage of a situation to get views for my channel. But this was a moment of extreme significance in the history of our country. It was it was another moment we're going to look back on. We still kill each other for hunting rights, right, Wes? There you go, Luke. Today was definitely a pivotal and historic day. This is a day that people will look back on in the future as you know, when we talk about the Revolution or the Civil War or World War I or World War II, and you talk about these pivotal moments that lead up to these conflagrations. Today is going to be one of those days when they write the history of whatever's coming at us. When they write the history, this will be one of the days they talk about. There was an incident in the run-up to, I believe, the War of 1812. I'm pretty sure it was the War of 1812, called Jenkins' Ear, where the British Navy pulled over an American ship and was going to impress all our sailors in 2 inches, literally kinetic. If he turned his head, if he had been looking straight ahead instead of to the right, we could possibly be in the Civil War right now. This live stream could be while I was throwing my gear together and getting ready to run out. I know you're saying, why isn't your gear together? It mostly is. But the War of Jenkins' Ear, I'm pretty sure it was the War of 1812. I don't think it was the Revolution. Was this American? I think he was a. I don't think he was a sailor, but he might have been a sailor. But he was on a ship, and the British Navy pulled over the American ship and was going to impress all the sailors into the Royal Navy. And Jenkins said something. Anyway, they ended up cutting off his ear. And it was this big moment in the lead up to whatever that next war was, and I think it was the War of 1812. Well, Trump's ear is going to be just like that. Elo is here. How you doing, sir? Oh, okay. Thank you, Louis. The War of Jenkins' Ear was 1739, so it was a run up to the Revolutionary War. I don't know why I was thinking it was 1812. Was it a French? So did the Frenchman? Was it a French ship that cut off an Englishman's ear? I may have this all backwards. I apologize. I shouldn't have brought that up. I knew I wasn't. Anyway, but it's a similar incident where people look back and say, "Oh yeah, this was definitely a waypoint on the Frenchman's ear was cut off." Jenkins was a Frenchman? Or are you just making a joke? Elo makes constant jokes. He's got a great sense of humor. Yeah, Luke, the Donald handled it like a boss. Anyway, we're all going to look back on this, and we're going to talk about, that was when Trump got shot, and then the next thing that happens, whatever it is, because this isn't going to end up just having been some crazy guy who got some random cheap pistol and a target of opportunity. This is going to end up being a guy with some training, with some equipment. And we're going to end up having to really ask some hard questions of our federal law enforcement. Look, I said at the beginning of this, if you weren't here, we got to give those agents that surrounded Trump their kudos. They put their bodies in between him and a shooter. So I'm going to give them credit where credit's due. That takes guts. Just like firefighters. Those people who run towards what other people are running away from deserve credit. However, the fact that this guy was able to climb the top of a building 400 feet away while people in the crowd watched him and tried to get the attention of the Secret Service. All right. We have to ask ourselves, is our federal law enforcement been completely corrupted? All right. We know the FBI has gone to us. The FBI has to be abolished. You can't even, it's not possible to save the FBI. The CIA is probably gone. The NSA is all these are corrupted institutions that have been taken over by the left. Is the Secret Service one of these as well? Are we not even going to be able to get our people to run for federal office because they won't be protected? Oh yeah, I'm sorry, ATF. I'm sorry, I don't even think of the ATF as law enforcement. They're just a criminal organization. This is a big deal. If I think Trump got 80 million votes for president last time, or something like that, close. I guess maybe Biden got 80 million and Trump got 79 million or whatever. Anyway, it was a lot. If a man who can get 79 million Americans to vote for him cannot be protected by our federal law enforcement agencies, then it's over. That's no longer a government. That is a criminal cabal. And right now, this looks like from the outside that the failures of the Secret Service were so severe that we have to question if this was not a coup. What's the right word here? If this wasn't an inside job, if this wasn't an internal attempt at killing a political rival. Look, I mean, we don't even have to, and I'm not the first one to say this, obviously. You've all seen, you know, Trump got indicted and impeached for saying peacefully go to the Capitol and fight like hell. If we look at all the people, Kathy Griffin holding his bloody severed head, Biden just said last week it's time to put a bullseye on Trump. We got all these leftists, all this uh, uh, violent rhetoric about Trump, about making him a martyr and calling in drone strikes on him and killing him, and there all the people when that last Supreme Court ruling came out about presidential immunity, and they are all saying things like, "Well, Biden can just kill Trump now because he's got immunity for any official acts." All of those leftist fantasies about killing Trump make what Trump said on January 6th, which was stupid anyway. I mean, he didn't say anything in that speech on January 6th that any politician hasn't said hundreds of thousands of times. But these leftists have been using all this rhetoric, explicitly, wishing that Trump would be killed, fantasizing about Trump being killed, pantomiming Trump being killed, and then someone takes a shot at him while the federal law enforcement agency is so negligent that it looks like they're involved. And whether they end up being involved or not, we have so lost faith in them that we can say, with a without treating it like a conspiracy theory, you know what? The Secret Service might have been involved in this. Just that fact alone, that I can get 40 people to sit here and listen to me while I speculate that the Secret Service may have been involved in a plot to assassinate a former and future president. In other times I would have been laughed out of polite society for saying that. The conspiracy theories around JFK have been, it was a punchline. Oh yeah, the grassy knoll. Someone here made a joke about it earlier. About the grassy knoll. It was a joke, but now we're like, we don't know. Could be. Nothing makes sense anymore. Who do you trust? You can't trust anybody. We live in a post-truth world. It's impossible to know if the Secret Service is trying to kill our president or not. Engineered to Succeed does not believe they were involved. He does believe it was negligence. Luke B believes it was an inside job. Oh, okay. Thank you, Patrick E. Trump got 74 million votes. Biden had allegedly 81 million votes. But you got to remember, 50 to 60 million of those were in Fulton County. Okay, 98XJ is, their asses are grass and Trump is going to mow them. So there you go. For whatever it's worth, these 41 men and Anita another gun, we're deeply suspicious. Deeply suspicious. I am personally very grateful to God that President Trump, I believe miraculously, I watched that video and I'm sorry, it looks miraculous to me, that had he been looking ahead instead of sideways, he'd be dead. That's the only thing between him and a flag-draped coffin, is which way he was looking. So I'm deeply grateful that just on a humanitarian level, that this man didn't have his brains blown out in front of his country and his family on national TV. That by itself is an intrinsic good. So we are grateful for that. We're grateful that our nation has not been plunged into the chaos that would result from that, because no one knows what comes out of the other side of that. No one knows what comes out of the other side of that. I don't. You don't. Not even Dr. Joe Biden, the greatest doctor in the world. Uh, uh, do you think the Secret Service will give him more protection? I think not. Again, Elo, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I don't really know what comes out of this. I think there's going to be some very, very, very chagrined Democrats after this. They've been fantasized. This is the thing. One of the things about Democrats and liberals, they're terrible at violence. You want to screw up a violent situation, you put a Democrat in charge of it. Woodrow Wilson, disaster. FDR, disaster. Johnson, disaster. Kennedy, disaster. Anytime violence gets involved, liberals and Democrats just they think they're so smart and they think they're so moral that they think that it'll never happen under my watch because I'm smart and I care about people. And we're gonna, if we have to use violence, we're going to use humane violence. And there's no such thing as humane violence. If you know your Clausewitz at all, the most humane war is a fast, hard, brutal, all-out war that does not prolong that misery 1 second. The faster you can end it, the better it is. I disagree with Tucker Carlson 100%. I think dropping the nuclear bombs was an extremely moral decision. It was the right decision. I think Tucker went off the rails on that one. And liberals refuse to acknowledge that. They want to, we're going to do this little tiny. I'm writing a novel. I haven't told anyone this. Oh, actually, that's not my handwriting, Palmetto. Oh, yeah, that's my handwriting. This is my daughter. But yeah, this is me. I'm writing a novel. It's not going well. But one of the scenes in the novel is this boy forced into a violent situation. And like you would expect, he's like an 8-year-old boy. And like you'd expect, he doesn't want to do it. He's scared of it, and he's being forced to do it. And so he tries to do this, like this little lash out. He has a knife, and he's supposed to kill this thing. And is it written in crayon? Nice. And he doesn't want to do it, and so instead of, he just kind of like lashes out just a little bit, and of course instead of killing it, all he does is cause it pain. He's being cruel instead of just getting it over and doing it. All he's doing is actually torturing the poor thing. And that's liberals for you. That's how they do violence. That's how they do war. They don't understand it. And when they confront it, it freaks them out. And I think there's going to be some very, very, very scared liberals, not leftists. Leftists are different than liberals. But there's going to be some very scared liberals who realize how unprepared they were for their the consequences of their rhetoric. And how stupidly they were behaving. So I don't know what's going to come out of this. They might pull back for a while. They might have scared themselves. It's like, I have a lot of children, and I never leave them unsupervised in dangerous situations. But there's times, especially around water, where I stand back, and I'll let a kid fall in the water and maybe thrash around for a second, so that they understand that they live in a dangerous world, and they can't expect that there's always going to be someone there to save them. Same thing when they'll climb stuff. I'll watch a kid sometimes climb some stuff. I'm like, oh, here we go, and I won't let them hurt themselves, but I'll let them get stuck, and I'll let them get stuck for a few minutes while they try to figure out that they freak out and they start crying, and it sounds cruel, but it's one of the kindest things you can do for anyone, but especially a child. Like to teach them, don't go up there if you can't get down. You don't live in a safe world. We don't live in a safe world. This world has never been safe. You cannot make it safe. If you move into an underground bunker, you've still got to worry about earthquakes and sandworms or whatever those things are in Dune and Tremors, You don't live in a safe world, and you can't pretend like you live in a safe world. And these dumbass liberals and Democrats, they thought they lived, they believe in this social evolution theory. And they thought they lived in a world where, we just lost a bunch of people. Apparently my bad fathering really insulted some people. They thought they lived in a world where they didn't have to worry about violence anymore. That it's not possible for us to have revolution. It's not possible for us to have upheaval. We've evolved past that. Our institutions are too robust. And I think some of them are right now looking at what just happened. At least I hope they're looking at what just happened, and they're thinking to themselves, oh my God, our institutions are not that robust. I'm hoping that they've scared themselves and they're going to back down a little bit. Rome thought the same thing, Kinetic. All right, everybody. My poor wife, we have some news. Patrick says that Trump must choose J.D. Vance. It's the best option to keep him safe. The three-letter agencies wouldn't want Vance to step in. Rubio, they would want him instead of Trump. Well, Patrick, if that's the reasoning, then he needs to pick Kamala Harris, because nobody wants her to be president. Look how long they've kept Joe Biden alive to keep Kamala from being president. But anywho, my lovely bride is pregnant with our 16th child. Yay, me! And obviously she is sleepy and she needs to go to bed, and I'm using her bedroom to do my live stream. So I can't do an all-nighter tonight. We're going to shut this one down. Yeah, 16th. I've been waiting for a long time to be able to tell everyone about it too. I'm very, 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 very humbled. You want to say you're very proud, but at this point I've realized it has nothing to do with me. You can't be proud of that level of blessing, because clearly there's nothing I've ever done that would justify me having 16 children. It is clearly it is clearly just God throwing pixie dust at me, because there's no other explanation. Anywho, alrighty, man. Pray for our country. Pray that we'll have a country. Oh, anyway, just pray. People who are ruled well are a blessed people. And we want to be a blessed people, and we are not. We are not ruled well. For whatever reason, you draw your own conclusions. But pray that we be ruled well. Governed. Let's say governed. Because ruled sounds a little too... You all know what I meant, though. All right, man. We appreciate you. Have a good night. Hey, Nona. Thank you for the congratulations. I didn't know you were here. I hope you didn't just show up and I'm shutting it down when you showed up.